And we are ready to begin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is David Vujasinovich, and I'm a Community Development Coordinator with the City of Brantford. I want to take a moment to introduce a couple of our teammates here. Stephanie Cooper, Community Development Coordinator with the City of Brantford. Nikki Francis, our Administrative Coordinator with the CEO and the Mayor. And Sharon Sales, our Communications Specialist. Thank you all for attending our Ukrainian Relief Community Forum this evening, and we're really thrilled to have all of you here tonight. Just very quickly, before we begin, I want to outline a couple of housekeeping items, if I may. As you may have heard at the very beginning, there was a reminder that the event is indeed being recorded. We want to make certain that other members of the community that are not available to attend this evening have the opportunity to see this at a later time. We do ask, of course, that you be respectful of questions and any comments that are put forward, and we will make certain to get through to all of those questions as quickly as we can via our chat function. And the chat function is going to be the preferred way that we're going to communicate tonight during the course of the Q&A, or the question and answer period that's going to happen a little bit later on after our presentations. And all of the questions indeed will be done at the end of the presentations. And I'll let you know ahead of time as well, any questions that are presented this evening that are not addressed during the course of the conversation, we will make them available on our brantford.ca BIP website, and you'll be able to access that information there. And I can really start to get into the key piece of what tonight's really all about. For us, it's an opportunity for us to be able to get together to ensure that all of our interested members within our community are engaged and informed and connected to the opportunities to really assist Ukrainian nationals that have arrived here in Brantford and that will be over time arriving in Brantford. There's been a significant effort that's been made with staff and with community partners to make a really great effort stemming from our mayor and our senior executive management directorship are all involved in really making something here that we're really proud to say is a good and honorable effort to assist and support our newcomers within our community. We want to make sure that you as the public and members of our community have the ability to participate, ask questions. And as has been traditional with the City of Brantford, the community has risen to the occasion. And I want to thank you right from the beginning to say how wonderful it is to see that we're getting the response, that there's so many of you online tonight, so many of you that have emailed in and called with your desires to assist and support. And I cannot tell you how incredibly important and appreciated it is for our newcomers. So I want to thank you to that. And if we can just come maybe to the slideshow and we can talk a little bit about the agenda and what comes next. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is hearing presentations during the course of the evening from our community agencies across multiple sectors. You're going to get to meet them individually. You're going to find out what their roles are in this process. And we want to make sure that during the course of the evening that you're going to meet some of these key contacts and have the means to connect with them and their organizations. So during the following, we'll open up past this event, we'll come back, we'll open up the floor to some questions and some comments from all of you. And at that time, of course, we'll be happy to address anything we can. And make sure you get those questions into the chat. I'll do my best to address those as quickly as we can. What we're going to do is immediately start off first, if we may, with our greetings from our Member of Parliament, Larry Brock, if we can cue that, please. We're unable to hear the volume there.
Nikki, you're on mute.
Nikki, you're on mute. Thank you.
Larry Brock, Member of Parliament for Brantford Brant. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our beautiful ride. It won't take too long before you and other Ukrainians who will come here in the following days and weeks to learn why Brantford is the telephone city and why 99 is a special number for all its residents. From day one, I followed the updates of what's happening in Ukraine, how the defenders of Mariupol are doing, and where the Russian warships are headed. I was proud to play my part in twinning the city of Brantford and Kamianets-Podilsky, which I am sure many of you have visited while living in peaceful Ukraine. I advocated for more sanctions against Russia and visa-free travel for you. I also got banned for traveling to Russia, which I accepted as a badge of honor. I was delighted by the news of the liberation of the Kyiv region and Cherniv, but I mourned the tragedy of Bucha in the House of Commons. Soon enough, I hope to join your celebration of victory in this unjustified war. But before that, let's work together to make sure your stay or new life here is comfortable as possible and coordinate our efforts to help Ukraine and bring all war criminals to justice. I would like to make a special mention to the Ukrainian Relief Working Group, who have been meeting regularly to help make your transition to Brantford as seamless as possible. Thank you to all those who are part of the working group for coming together to offer your time, expertise, and services to assist our newcomers in their new home country and city. And lastly, I want you all to know my office is here to help in any way we can. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Slava Ukraini, welcome to Canada.
Our thanks from our Honourable Member of Parliament, Larry Brock, and now I'd like to have us, in his absence, our Mayor Kevin was able to also leave a greeting message, if Nikki were able to do so.
Hi folks, Mayor Kevin Davis here, welcoming you to the Ukrainian Information Forum. It's moving and truly impressive, the number of Brantford residents who step forward saying, I want to help. Opening your home to newcomers, supporting their transition, or making donations, that's changing the lives of many newcomers to Brantford. And in true Brantford tradition, many have answered the call and offered their support. I also want to thank the Ukrainian Relief Working Group, includes representatives from the city, Laurier, the YMCA, St. Leonard's, and many more organizations, all coming together with a common purpose of welcoming and helping to settle the Ukrainian refugees and evacuees. And I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's forum and hope the information you hear tonight will inspire you to help.
And again, thank you for that message from our Mayor, Mayor Davis. And we're going to get into the body of some of the presentations now, if we can. I'd like to first allow the stage to go to Lily Lumsden, our regional manager from the YMCA in Brantford, and Lily and Rashed Afif, who is coming to us from the Wesley and is a senior director there. And Lily, if I can open the floor for you to begin your presentation to talk a little bit about the first updates of arrival of our Ukrainian nationals and the government response, and of course, some of our new developments. Lily?
Great, thank you. So I'm going to set some context in terms of what we know so far about some of the new measures for the Ukrainians. So the government of Canada announced special measures to help Ukrainians affected by war. This was announced in announcement in March 11th, 2022. So 2 months ago, believe it or not. They launched the new immigration stream called the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel immigration stream. They also announced a special stream for family reunification for permanent residency as well. What they wanted to try to do was their aim was to get Ukrainians here as soon as possible. So there were priority processing for applications. And we as Canada are accepting unlimited number of Ukrainians fleeing from the country on these temporary visas. And this is actually very different from normal immigration patterns and immigration streams. Even under the refugee immigration stream, there are usually caps and limits on those streams. So I'm going to speak specifically for the next few slides about the temporary, the CUAET, the new temporary stream. Under this stream, applicants can apply for a 3-year open work permit or study permit. Application fees have been waived, and with the exception of the security screening, requirements that would normally be required for normal visa applications have also been waived. They are also exempt from COVID restrictions. And so again, this was in order to be able to have the Ukrainians come to Canada as soon as possible. So they tried to eliminate some of the red tape around those things. And for those who were already in Canada prior to this announcement, us as Canada are allowing extensions for visitors, work or student visas, again, for up to 3 years. And just to get some clarification around this new stream versus the refugee stream. So Ukrainians are coming to Canada, under the CUAET, are considered temporary residents. They're not deemed officially refugees, even though they are fleeing conflict and war and in need of protection and safety. And I have a couple of slides just to quickly outline what the process is. So those coming to Canada under the refugee process, there's actually a lot of steps in the process, as you can see by this flow chart. And the key thing is that before applying to come to Canada, refugees cannot apply directly to Canada to come. They have to go through the UNHCR. They have to be referred. And as you can see here, there are a number of steps. The process does take a significant amount of time in order for them to even be determined as a refugee. And then once they're determined, then there's several more steps in the process before they can actually apply to come to Canada and actually arrive. If you look at this new streamlined process, you can see that there are far fewer steps. Families under this process can apply directly to Canada, quick evaluation of their applications, and then they can arrive. So what do we know? So between the time frame of January 1st, 2022 and May 8th, so as of just a few weeks ago, there have been more than 28,000 Ukrainians who have landed in Canada. They have come through various different ways in terms of visitor visas, family reunification. And so we have had 28,000 arrive, again, all across Canada. As of May 11th, so as of a week ago, under the new CUAET application stream, Canada has received 223,664 applications. And of that 200,000, 104,000 applications have been approved. So as you can see, yes, 28,000 have already arrived in Canada, but there still is a significant number of people who have applications approved and are organizing flights and transportation to come here. And again, we must remember that this is unlimited and there may be significantly more. And if you're interested in keeping up to date on these numbers, you can go to the IRCC website and click under the Ukraine measures and key figures. And that gives you a week by week update. And what I've found is that we're getting 20,000 new applications every week consistently over the last month. Chartered flights organized by the federal government will start to arrive soon. I think my last email was that there will be some flights arriving at the end of May, beginning of June. There have been some chartered flights with plane load full of Ukrainians that have already arrived in Canada, but just to note, these were organized privately and some by provinces and not by the federal government. So people are starting to arrive in bigger numbers. They will be met by the Red Cross at the airport and given a welcome package. Members of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress will be at the airport to assist with greeting and language interpretation. And that's kind of not just for the chartered flights, but also for those who are arriving on some of the other ways. Currently, the city of Hamilton is working with the city of Toronto on a larger proposal for reception and welcome for flights to come to Toronto, to Pearson. And then what we're anticipating is that there will be arrivals in Toronto, and then from there filtering out to Toronto, to Peel, to Halton, Hamilton, Brantford, and kind of that filtering process as people look for work and look for housing. When they get to Canada, they will have open work or study permits. We do know that they will be allowed emergency income support from OW if needed, up to 16 weeks. So a fairly short time period, but at least there's something to get them started. They will have access to OHIP for health coverage. They will be eligible for employment services. They will be eligible for all settlement and language programs as well. Arrivals. This is, as you see it on my slide, it's a bit of a best guess. We do have starting to get a bit of understanding as we're starting to meet with those who have been arriving. But we're looking at primarily moms with children, both parents if families are large, meaning 3 or more children. We are anticipating some unaccompanied minors as well, and we're planning for that. A high number of adults with post-secondary education, and one item that I read was around 65%-ish have post-secondary. English language levels seem to be a little, apparently is variable. We have found in the people that we have met so far that if they have post-secondary, then their English is quite good. But there will be some need for some English language training for people. People will need to work and will want to work as soon after they arrive. And again, when we think about the income support, because it's less than 6 months, they will be needing to work as soon as possible. We know that in Canada, and especially locally, we do have a strong Ukrainian community, and this will be critical to get them connected with social supports. And we are planning on working with community agencies around helping to assist with emotional and mental needs, especially dealing with trauma now that they're safe. Some things that we're taking into consideration as we're planning for services to support people. Housing, we do know that housing, most cities across the country are in housing crisis. So we are looking at different options to assist with some transitional support. So leveraging post-secondary residences that are currently unoccupied, as well as a host home billeting process. Employment, due to the temporary nature of the income supports, quick employment will be important. However, we need to balance this with the temporary or transitional housing might make this a bit of a challenge. Childcare, preschool, school age, and school age childcare will be needed so that adults can work. However, we do know that there are some critical staffing shortages within childcare centers. So it might be a challenge finding childcare spaces. Documents and credentials, due to families having to flee their homes quickly, there may be, and that their post-secondary institution may be destroyed. The adults may not have the credentials with them. And so what would that mean in terms of, especially if they work in a regulated industry that require their credentials? And then transportation. And we know that for Brantford, transportation can be a challenge at the best of times for those who have lived here for a long time. They won't have cars, although I did receive an email that they will be able to apply for a driver's license. So that's new and good information. And knowing that the public transit systems in Canada are not as robust as Europe's. And so navigating how people get to work and school. As I said before, in terms of some of the key resources, Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada has their website is really great in terms of up-to-date information. The Brantford Immigration Partnership website is also great. And then just some other local immigration partnership councils in the surrounding area. I'm next going to turn it over to Rashid, who is the Senior Director of Newcomer Housing and Employment Services for Wesley. And he's going to talk a bit more detail about some of the supports and services that will be available for them.
Thank you, Lily. As Lily mentioned, Ukrainians who are arriving to Brantford, they would be eligible to receive settlement support. And in Brantford, YMCA and Wesley, they provide settlement supports to Ukrainians. So settlement supports, Wesley would provide mobile, and also YMCA has settlement workers as part of the welcome and reception. So Ukrainians or the people who are supporting Ukrainians can connect with Wesley or YMCA to connect the Ukrainians to the settlement. So what settlement support is, it has need assessment and referral. It also has information and orientation supports. The settlement worker will connect them to services, for example, to employment services. YMCA also has Swiss workers, which are settlement workers that are working in schools to support families register their kids and children and youth in school. And if they need any support, the settlement workers in school would support the teachers and the children in school. The settlement workers also would work with the parents to help them connect them with the English assessment, to find them English, the language programs or the link programs, and also help them with finding childcare for their children. They would also, through Canada Connects, they would also match Ukrainian families with established Canadians who provide social support or willing to provide social support to Ukrainian. And the settlement workers would also work with the youth and teens to connect them to the appropriate programs, recreational programs, and youth programs. YMCA also has a welcome and reception center where they can also assess, as part of the settlement work, settlement service, they can also support with obtaining some documentations. For example, if the families, they need SIN number, they need application for OHIP or applying for temporary income support, and any other supports, the settlement workers would be able to support them. They could also do referrals to health screening and healthcare needs, and they would support them with referral for housing support, and anything that they would need when they set up their housing. For example, if they need to obtain clothing, food, hygiene, or other items, so the settlement worker would work alongside Ukrainians to help them access this support, and also they would try to connect them to the local Ukrainian cultural support, which is very important for the Ukrainians arriving in Brantford. And how Ukrainians could access the services, or where they could easily go to the Ukrainian relief page, which is on Brantford Immigration Partnership, and YMCA and Wesley's contact information is there, so they can definitely contact us and for more information, and we would be honored and happy to support them. Thank you.
Thank you both, Lily and Rashid. Just in this moment, I wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge the tremendous work that the both of you are doing as key pillars and supports and service providers within the communities, and had done so right from the very, very beginning. So I wanted to make sure that the community were aware of the work that you had been doing, and thank you for that. If I can now, I'd like to introduce Malcolm White, who's an employment manager with our partners at St. Leonard's. Malcolm, we'll bring you to the stage to speak.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Just going to share my screen here. Righty. So as David mentioned, my name is Malcolm White. I am the Director of Employment Programs here at St. Leonard's Community Services. So our role in supporting individuals will be to provide them with job search support, let them know of what's available in the community, get them familiar with some of the Canadian application processes, interviews, prep, resume building, stuff of that nature. We're also going to be supporting employers who are looking to hire individuals. So we're going to be kind of the main point for helping connect those individuals with what's available in the community as well. So I just have a few slides to go through here that just kind of outlines a little bit about what St. Leonard's Community Services Employment Services is able to offer.
Malcolm, we can't see your presentation.
Oh, that's not good.
Do you want to try sharing again?
Yes, I will try again there.
Are you using two screens?
I am. I was in the trial and it.
Oh, there we go. We're good.
Oh, you guys see it now?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can see it now.
Perfect.
That work?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. So the introduction was just an intro. So now I'll jump into the actual slides. So we'll be good to go. So we offer access to information resources, group training sessions, one-on-one support, connections to local employers, applications for the Better Jobs Ontario funding, and ways to navigate the skilled trades, apprenticeships, as well as connections to some other local training programs that are available. All of our services are free and they're open to everybody. We have an open resource center where you can come in and just use the computer, access phones, printing, faxing, anything of that nature. So anything you need in helping you with your job search or just getting connected with the local community, we are able to support you with that. We do have locations in Brantford, Caledonia, and Dunnville, and I'll share those locations at the end of the presentation as well. In our resource area, we also have local job postings posted, so you can see what's available if you're prefer that route rather than hopping on the computer. There will be staff available there to help coach and navigate you through everything as well. Just a bit of a look of what our resource area looks like. So the one-on-one support that is available is we'll be able to connect you with one of our employment consultants. They'll work with you to develop a plan, explore different employment and educational options for you, identify and problem solve any barriers, and then provide ongoing support even after you find a job. So our goal is to help connect you with local employers, but also to help you keep the job once you're there. So if you're having any issues or any challenges, we can help navigate some of those things as well. As far as connections to local employers, so many employers do reach out to us who are looking to hire, as well as some who have specifically reached out with wanting to support with this current situation. So we are able to help in negotiating your placement with them, helping to ensure that the training is in place, that it's a good employer and somebody that is following the health and safety standards, and also just making sure that we are there to kind of help navigate through the whole process. When it comes to employers who may also be on this call, we are also able to help screen and help gather resumes for you so that we can connect you with any of these local job seekers as well as those who are arriving right now as we prepare them to be ready to come and join your workforce. As mentioned, we are able to help refer you out to other community programs as well, or training programs that may be of better fits. Better Jobs Ontario, which was previously known as the Second Career Program, is able to help support you in retraining. So should you feel as though you need to go back to school or do something a little more formal to get training that will help you excel in your career, you are able to apply through the Better Jobs Ontario program. There's also opportunities to help connect with employers for apprenticeships. And then the other two programs I will get to a little bit more detail here. So what we refer to as our WRAP program, our Work Readiness and Advancement Program. This program is focused for youth between the ages of 15 and 30 who are not in school. We're really focusing on supporting those who need connections to local housing and mental health programs. This program helps support with first and last month's rent, as well as connecting you to local employers, and provides 5 weeks of paid training. So should you happen to be in that age group, this program can be a little bit more fulsome support rather than just the one-on-one kind of ongoing thing. And we also have our Foundations for Trades program, which is 5 weeks of pre-employment training in partnership with Conestoga College here locally at the Brantford Airport. You also receive a college certificate through that program in construction foundations. Once the training is done, we then help connect you with a local employer in the construction field for a 4-week job placement. Again, this is something, if you're an employer looking to hire in this field too, you can connect with us, as well as we may have some graduates that may be of interest for you too. So as mentioned, we have 3 locations to support you. The one here in Brantford is located at 225 Fairview, next to the Shoppers Drug Mart in the plaza there. We are open Monday to Friday, 8:30 till 4:30, and you can pop in at any time. You don't need an appointment, and we can support you right away. We also have a location in downtown Caledonia, should you be moving out Haldeman Way, that can support you as well. And then our location in Dunnville too, that can support you as well. And that is it for my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to support you.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. And I'm really glad that you brought up specifically the piece around the connection with employers. We have had employers that have started to make those connections with our Employment Ontario partners. So you being, of course, a key member of that team, thank you for that update. And again, we'll be sharing some of those references closer to the end of our presentation as well. So thank you for that. And if I can also call up now Linda Kohler, who is here representing the Grand River Community Health Center and the ongoing supports and ever-changing environment around healthcare and health supports. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, David. I will just share my screen. You can just bear with me. Sorry. There we go. So good evening. My name is Linda Kohler. I'm a program manager at Grand River Community Health Center. And I do want to review some of the health supports that we will all be supporting these families in connecting with in our community. And we do know that our health system can be confusing. And I think it will take all of us to help people navigate our systems and ensure that they receive the services that they need. So I'm going to start with talking about primary health care. So that is your family doctor or nurse practitioner. So as Lily mentioned, Ontario has removed the 3-month waiting period for OHIP. So their transaction record that they receive at Service Ontario will contain their health card number and version code. So they should be able to immediately access health services. I know that healthcare providers in the province have been advised to see these clients and to bill later if OHIP is not readily available. So that also has been messaged. In Brantford, we have had a very positive response from primary healthcare providers to take on individuals and families. And our primary care council has had a number of primary care providers come forward and offer their support. We are in the midst of firming up who will take clients and how we can connect those clients. In the meantime, Grand River Community Health Center, our director, Kim Sheehan, has offered to help coordinate these families and individuals to connect with primary care providers. I want to also mention, though, there is a health line that the province has set up to as well connect people with primary care. So we know that primary care is really important for individuals and families. They may not have a health history. They may need updating of their health records and immunizations and care for other chronic conditions, as well as more immediate urgent care needs. So this is really important for everyone that's arriving to not for a long period of time rely on urgent care clinics, but rather to get a family doctor. We do know that there are walk-in clinics available, and I will be updating these resources on the Immigration Partnership website so that those as well are available to people that need immediate care and don't have primary health care. I also wanted to mention about translation that we will be providing translation and appointments. I know there is a call for volunteers, but there are also provincial call-in translation services that most primary healthcare practices use, and that will be needed in appointments. As with most visitors to Canada and Ontario, I think understanding what is covered by our Ontario insurance is important, and guiding people through this will be important. So I just mentioned here on this slide what is included under our insurance and what is not. So ensuring that people understand that medications are not covered, that there's non-OHIP funded services like eye exams for adults, physiotherapy, chiropody, chiropractic services, etc. So just helping people understand any of the additional costs that might be incurred with a health visit. And this is not that different from the Ukraine. I mentioned immunizations, and this will be important that people have access to healthcare to be able to update their vaccinations. And through research, I found that communicable disease vaccination rates are lower in the Ukraine, as well as COVID vaccine rates are lower. Primary care providers can review and update these immunizations. As well, there are vaccine clinics through the Brant County Health Unit, and they can book to attend a clinic with the Brant County Health Unit. As well, COVID-19 vaccines are available through the health unit. And I just noted that some workers may have this as a work requirement, so just to be aware of that fact. Moving on to dental care, and again, I'm just brushing the surface, but please reach out if you have any specific questions. Dental care in the Ukraine is not publicly funded, but it is very affordable. So that might be a difference for people living in Ontario. So I wanted to mention some of the publicly funded dental programs that are available. One is Healthy Smiles Ontario, and this is a routine dental care for children and youth under the age of 18 years, and the Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program, which is for seniors age 65 and older, and both of those are provided through the Brant County Health Unit. We know that dental costs can be unaffordable for some lower income individuals. So I also wanted to mention that at Grand River Community Health Center, we have a dental loan program called Something to Smile About. And I can put that information on the Immigration Partnership site so that if people are in need, they can reach out to us. Finally, I wanted to talk about mental health support, and we've heard this in the previous presentations. Many of these newcomers have experienced trauma, and this is really difficult for people that are arriving. Trauma may appear right away, or it can be something that lingers and is more visible later on. So this might be an immediate need or something that appears further down the road. So mental health supports can be information and referral can be provided through Connex Ontario, and that's our provincial information site that people can access online, or there is a toll-free number. But I wanted to highlight some of our mental health providers in our community. So St. Leonard's Community Services provides a range of adult mental health and addiction supports, as well as our Canadian Mental Health Association. And for children and youth, Contact Brant is a one-stop shop for front door access to services for children and youth. And Woodview Mental Health and Autism Services offers quite a range of services for children and youth. I wanted to highlight some of the access points for adults through St. Leonard's Community Services. So there is a crisis line for immediate needs, and this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people can call in for support and connection to other supports. There is a mental health clinic that is a walk-in or booked appointment clinic at the Fairways Road location. As well as finally, there is crisis outreach support. So that is a team that goes out and supports people in the community. So this is a very quick overview of some of the health supports that people may need a connection with. I have included my contact information on this slide, but I will be updating all of these connections on the Brantford Immigration Partnership sites and more connections as those become available, because this is ever evolving and we are garnering lots of support from the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. And you brought up a great point here too, that the information that you and all presenters this evening are giving to the community, that they will have access to this again through the Brantford Immigration Partnership or the brantford.ca /BIP website. And we want to make sure that that is clear. And again, that the questions that will appear in the chat portion will also be answered. I know that we're moving at a pretty quick pace. I tend to speak quite quickly as well. And I want to acknowledge the fact that if you feel that there's something that may not get translated properly or may get missed, that we're going to do our very best to get that information to you. So Linda, thank you again for that part of our presentation.
You're welcome.
And I want to take a moment now to introduce two of our city staff members from Ontario Works with our Family and Income Supports Division, and that would be Sarah Noakes and Michelle Yule, to give a presentation on our team's efforts through Ontario Works. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much, Dave. So my name is Sarah Noakes. I'm a team lead for the Ontario Works Department. And I'm here to talk to you primarily about financial assistance support and some of the immediate measures that have been introduced by the province to assist newcomers in stabilizing themselves within Ontario, primarily prior to the ability to gain employment and be considered self-sufficient. So the Ontario Works legislation, it indicates that your immigration status impacts your ability to collect assistance. And so what they have done is, in range of for the purposes of social assistance, they have given the opportunity to individuals to apply for not the regular Ontario Works program, but for emergency assistance. So the Canadian-Ukraine authorization for emergency travel will give individuals and families the opportunity to apply for social assistance by way of emergency assistance. So Ontario is responding to the invasion of Ukraine by ensuring that individuals and families seeking safety in Ontario from the conflict have both the services and supports that are required in order to integrate and succeed within our province. Given the emergency, the ministry has expanded access to emergency assistance, which will allow Ukrainian migrants in financial crisis the ability to receive timely support. So the other individual that you see is Michelle Yule, and she is heading up this locally for us. So she is the service coordinator responsible for the administration of this program. So what can emergency assistance help with? Emergency assistance is Ontario Works assistance, but basic allowance and shelter on a prorated version for 16-day periods up to 48 days. So it's a little bit confusing, but the provision of assistance is dependent upon your family size as well as what your costs are. So social assistance is broken down into both basic needs and shelter. And the provision of emergency assistance is prorated based on 3 16-day periods. There then has to be a break of at least 1 day in assistance before a new application can be started. So Michelle is working with our families, the newcomers that have applied so far in relation to the applications and processing of emergency assistance. So not only is that financial assistance, but that also is medical assistance. So drug coverage for both the applicant and any members of their family.
Sarah, sorry
Yep.
to interject. I just wanted to let you know that we're not seeing the same slide that you're trying to describe. So I was wondering if you could go to the slide that you're referring to and make it full screen.
Sorry, I'm not sharing the presentation. There we go.
There you go. Thank you.
Sorry. So what we did was an example of social assistance amounts, because again, they are dependent upon family size. So we would do the assessment. But what this shows here is basic needs and shelter amount based on an example of a sole support or single parent with 2 dependent children under the age of 18. So what you can see is the difference between regular Ontario Works entitlement and that which is issued through emergency assistance. So Ontario Works is issued monthly on the 1st of the month. The total maximum eligibility monthly for that family size would be $1,057. The amount for emergency assistance is exactly the same, but instead of being issued on a monthly basis, it's issued in 16-day increments up to 48 days. And then there has to be a break of 1 day before a new application can be completed. At this time, the ministry has given us the authorization and the ability to complete these emergency assistance applications for up to a period of 6 months. And I'm assuming pending further review. So as I said, Michelle's information is available, as well as the intake information for the social assistance department. And I believe that that will be available through the City of Brantford website contacts as well.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, Michelle, for being here and for presenting this information. I know that there's a lot that's there. Some of that we weren't able to see in real time, but we'll make certain that that is obviously available to everybody online. And of course, they'll be able to access that through the website. What we will do now is go to our next panel presenters. We have Pastor Oleg Stephos and his wife, Irene. In all of these efforts that you have people that are doing the grassroots, hard work, day-to-day grind. And I wanted to take a moment just to be able to acknowledge and to show appreciation and respect for both Pastor Oleg and Irene for the tremendous efforts that they've made. They have traveled abroad, if I'm correct, more than once to be able to assist and support Ukrainians crossing over at the Polish border, and have been doing everything that they can to be supportive and just to acknowledge the great work that they've done, and really in informing our working group in our work. So if I can take a moment to introduce you so you can speak a little bit to the experiences you're having with the Slavic Gospel Church and your efforts to provide grassroots supports to the community. Thank you and welcome to both of you.
Thank you so much, David. And as you mentioned, we are pastors in Slavic Gospel Church. And 70 Superior Street, that's what it is in Brantford. And to work with this group, I tell you, it's a blessing to work with everyone and hear how much our community and government actually reaching out. It's actually, it moves our hearts. Honestly, we had the chance to go to Poland as soon as this started. We went to Poland to see those refugees, to see those poor families. And I tell you, we said, we're going to do everything in our power and in our ability to help them. We speak the language, we can understand them, we can communicate. And we left some information about us in Poland, in some centers, refugee centers where they come to. And ever since, they've been calling us and asking for help. And we would say, yes, we will help you. We will do everything possible. And then we found out about this working group, helping Ukrainian working group. And that was a blessing. So we were able to receive so far 36 people, which is about 6 families. And we are expecting maybe 24 in the next 2 weeks. And there is many more. There we helping them with paperwork. We explaining to them. We telling them it is possible, it is real. They can't come to Canada. It's going to be okay. So they actually come in here, and as we Ukrainian speaking community, they finding a place here and reaching out to us. So Irene will tell you the rest in terms of everything else, how we settling them. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for being here and for offering your support to us and for our wonderful Brantford community. When we started to work with the refugees coming to Canada, somehow the Brantford community got hold of us, I think through the newspapers, and we've just been overwhelmed with support from individuals offering everything from clothing to furniture to money to cover the tickets. So what we are doing through our church and through the people that we're working with, we are really collecting money to buy the airline tickets. I know Government of Canada is in the works of putting flights together, but we haven't seen them yet. So we've been actually collecting donations to buy the airline tickets. We've been finding how to picking them up at the airport. That's another thing, and finding housing for them. And I'd like to thank Dr. Adam Lawrence from Laurier University and his wonderful assistant, Melissa, which they could have said no, but they didn't. They are a very integral part for us because when they arrive, we need to have a place for them to stay the night, the first night, and for a little bit afterwards. And Laurier has responded and they allowed us to use their dorms to house the Ukrainians. I'd also like to just thank Skylight Living. They have offered an easier process than you would normally have for the Ukrainian refugees with the apartments. We have one family already settled in the apartment in that company, another lady with a child that's 12, they offered her a position there as a cleaning position and also an apartment for her. We have 2 more families that will receive their apartments June 1st, and we're just so grateful for them. We also, I just want to thank another Meadowlands Reformed Church and the Refugee Board. They have supported us financially to help us buy those tickets, airline tickets and whatever else, and just overwhelming support from our community. People have come around us and just, offered everything you could imagine, which we're really thankful. Now, just to give a quick update, at this point, we cannot accept any more clothing donations or furniture simply because we do not have storage space. We've run out of space and we just, we hate to say no because we know we will need those items in the future, but we just can't store anymore. So
it's a good problem to have.
Yes, it is a bit of a good problem, but anyway, so we are expecting more people to arrive, and I have asked our community, if you want to support the newcomers in any way, the most practical I find way and most that we will know that for sure will be used is just gift cards to any grocery store in our community. Freshco, most of the families that arrive, they stay on Darling Street or they stay around the church area, which is 70 Superior Street. So Freshco is really close to them, they walking distance. So gift cards to grocery store would be great. We also looking desperately for 3-bedroom apartments. We have at least 2 families that are waiting for a 3-bedroom apartment, and we just don't have one available at the moment. So if anybody know of anybody who has a 3-bedroom apartment, that would be great. And just in closing, I would just like to thank everybody who just come along and supported our efforts. We're doing what we can, but of course we're not as big as the city of Brantford, so we just really grateful for everybody who's been supporting and just doing anything they can. I know our neighbor across the road from the church, they seen the kids there and they just brought bicycle over, and those kids, it just makes their day. It just gives them such joy, because they left their bicycles at home, they left their toys and everything else, and for them to get that bicycle, you just see the smiles and it makes it all worth it. So I just wanted to mention that we do have our church service 10 to 12 on Sunday, but every Sunday right after church from 12 to 3, we make a meal. It's a simple meal. We do a barbecue or something that's affordable and can feed a multitude of people. And anybody, so if you're a new Ukrainian in the area and you don't have a community, you don't have a place to go, you just want to meet other people that are in exactly the same situation that just arrived, you're welcome just to drop by at any point. You can come anytime between 12 and 3 and meet others that just arrived, and we offer any support you. We have some clothing, some furniture items that you can take, and hopefully that will help you. And I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again, both for the tremendous work that you're doing on behalf of our newcomers and on behalf of our community. I can't say enough. And I'm really glad that you both brought up the ideas around the donations and where we stand. And it's actually a very good opportunity for Stephanie and I to sort of step into our piece, just being very mindful of time and wanting to make sure that we get questions in shortly. Stephanie and I will very, very quickly come by and discuss really what some of our resources are. Again, the brantford.ca /BIP website is really where you're going to be able to find the information that you need. There is a translatable welcome guide for Ukrainians there. Again, the Google Translate function is there to make that possible. Again, you're going to find any information around the Y for volunteering will also be present on the site. Any number of the contacts that we've discussed tonight will definitely be there. And as Stephanie is bringing up our Brantford immigration page, you'll be able to see the different tiles that exist. Newcomer Needs Assessment Survey, but you want to go right to the Ukrainian relief connection that Stephanie went into. You're going to be able to see some of the details here. We've got a conversation about our form and what's going on today. Contact information, that is key to what it is that we do. Some of the government information that's been presented, everything from healthcare. Again, we're still with our COVID relief trying to do those things. Employment services are there. And again, I just want to quickly, again, you'll be able to maneuver through the site on your own. Steph, maybe if we go just down to the piece specifically connected with us in and around donations, and there we go. Right there, just in around donations, community volunteers and donations. This has been a really interesting piece for us. And I'm really glad that Irene brought up the fact that one of the really pragmatic ways to assist the community is by purchasing of gift cards. And these kinds of things are really, really important. We are currently working in terms of an update with our partners to determine where we can get some extra locations for space for donated items. Again, it has been maximized by the Full Gospel Church. We are currently in negotiations to see what we'll be able to do to get some extra space. I think that'll be announced very shortly. But I know that our partners at Laurier have been really working hard to assist and support what that might look like. So that will be on the website as well. The other thing I wanted to attach was, if you're looking to create supports, Steph, if you're able just to keep that last piece up so that I can maybe give credit to some of the partners that we need to speak to. The Ukrainian Canadian Council is one of the groups Congress, that's been working with us quite actively. The Ukrainian Diaspora Supports Canada is another site that talks about the entire process, specifically around being able to volunteer. And the Ukrainian Village of Ukraine dancers are organizing fundraisers to support Ukrainians. So there's more information that can be found on their webpage. And I think that's the first place that we can start when we're talking about donations. One of the things that we're being very, very sensitive to when it comes to the issue of donations is that, unfortunately, as we all know, in times of need, there's also times of opportunity for others that are maybe not as good-spirited and maybe have more nefarious kind of intents. So we're very, very careful when it comes to donations. It's very careful when it comes to financial donations in particular, and where the money is able to get routed, that we're very careful before we post anything. So as time goes, you'll see the ability to provide financial assistance and support. Some of that is already there. And we're going to be able to try to hopefully get you more names of individuals that will be present in the local sphere that'll be able to activate that money locally. So that's our brief update really with the donations and stuff. I'm looking at the time, it's 5:58, and we've got some questions that have come through in the chat. And I wanted to start making just some steps. First off, I wanted to acknowledge and thank Carrie Sinkowski, who basically has shared a resource which we will add a link to in our notes as well. Carrie comes to us from the Community Legal Clinic and has provided an outreach that's there from the Community Legal Aid Clinic system that is there for assistance. It is constantly updated, and it's there for one-stop shop information as well. Again, some of that will be legal and some of the directions that can be taken there. We are open for questions further. I also want to acknowledge Bill Balram Kishan and a new member here, CC Alexander, that are looking to do some direct assistance and support here in the community. Again, I'm open to questions at this point in time. Do we have any that we can field for you? We've had some that have come in, and perhaps, Stephanie, what we could do is look at some of the ones that have come in already and start to source those. By the way, for those of you that have been generous with your questions earlier when you registered, we will make certain that those questions are also answered during the course of time. I do also have a representative here. James Messakar is representing our Brant Sea cadets and the Navy cadets. They offer programming as well for young people 9 to 18. What I'm going to suggest for those of you that have service additional services that you do maintain contact with myself and with Stephanie Cooper with the Brantford Immigration Partnership, and we'll make certain to add any resources with you which you present to us moving forward. So thank you for that. And for those that have sent me texts and emails, of which have been kind of fast and furious during the course of the meeting, I'll make sure to answer to those as well. Do we have any other questions or things that anyone in the community would like to share? The chat's probably a great place to be able to do that. All right.
So David, someone has their hand raised.
Okay.
To ask a question. It's Lois. Would you like me to allow them to talk?
Absolutely. Thank you. Please do. Good evening, Lois.
Hi, I'm sorry. That was inadvertent. So my apologies. I'm thinking about questions, but not yet. I'll lower that.
Okay, thank you. Not a problem. Yeah, myself, I'm not able to see the raised hands on my screen at this point. So I would ask that if, thank you again, Heather, Sharon, if you're able to see that. Is there any other information, perhaps as we're waiting for a question to come in online, is there any questions or anything that any of our panelists, maybe in hindsight, would like to offer as additional information? Anything additional? Okay. Show me your hand. Oh, nope, I'm not getting anything there. We realize that this is quite a bit of information to throw at everybody all at once, and there's probably quite a few questions that people will have after they're able to look at the information. So I'm allowing for a momentary pause here for people to take a moment to be reflective. And okay. Stan asked and said, we have seen Canadian numbers. Do we know how many may come into Brantford and Brant County? Excellent question. I would turn that question over to Lillian and Rashid, maybe in terms of the preliminaries, again, not maintaining exact numbers. Is there anything there that you're hearing in terms of numbers? And Irene and Oleg, if you've seen anything or have any ideas of what you're seeing in terms of numbers. Thank you for that question, by the way.
I'll just start quickly. We don't have any definitive numbers yet. And what we anticipate will happen is we find with Brantford, we do have a lot of secondary migration. So people just across the board, they go, oh, I want it because they know Toronto, they might know Hamilton. So they might come to those areas, but then make their way to Brantford as well. So the numbers we might have, maybe 100 people in the next month or so, but then there may be more over the course of the next 6 months to a year. And so we've been working with Irene and with the Newcomer, with the Ukrainians that have been coming in recently. We know that more will come, but we don't have a good idea on the bigger numbers that's going to come locally.
Yeah, I also I think at this point we're working with about over 100 people that I see are coming in next maybe a month and a half. But almost every other day I receive a phone call from another family that they asking is it possible to come and what it takes, and they actually start filling applications and they get in on the process. And now it's going much faster. So I think we're going to see quite a few.
I think it's interesting, Lily, you brought up the idea of secondary migration. I think that's a big part of it. I know that some of the initial conversations that I've had with partners throughout the province, and again, the primary points of entry tend to be Montreal, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, not in that order. It seems like the large process has been occurring in Manitoba, particularly in Winnipeg. So it's not much of a surprise. But you're right, as a secondary migration, maybe we're going to see a little bit less, but nonetheless, I think we're preparing very well for that.
Yeah, and the key thing that we find is that the cost of housing, people move out to what we're seeing is Brantford and Caledonia have been increasing in terms of the number of newcomers moving out there because it's more affordable even than in Hamilton. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that as well over the course of time.
And just David to add, so looking at the number of applications, I think in Brantford we will also see a lot of Ukrainians because we are right now looking at 200,000 application, more than 200,000 application. So I'm sure it's going to be spreading because Hamilton and GTA has a capacity, and then if no one can be at this area, they would usually move toward Brantford.
That's a great point. I think when we're looking at the fact that there's no cap on numbers, it's a significant point to be prepared that even secondary or tertiary migration is going to be quite significant. So these are things that we have to keep in mind. Thank you. Are there any other questions in the community that we can come to answer? We'd be happy to do so.
Dave, I have something to comment, if that's okay.
Oh, of course, please do.
So I've been hearing a lot of rumors from people who have been applying for emergency assistance about a $500 per week income support from the federal government. I've done a little bit of research and it was announced by the federal government. However, it hasn't been approved in legislation yet. So that's where the confusion is lying sometimes when people are applying for emergency assistance and income support. It is something I'm checking every single day. So as soon as they are able to apply for that income support, then I will be reaching out to all of my participants. But just keep an eye on it because like I said, it was out in the media and just you can't do anything about it yet.
You make a great point because you're right. When people are looking at the different levels of government, of course, with yourself being with family income supports, and then you see the money, there was an allocation of about $300 million that came in provincially, and now they're discussing the allocations through IRCC and with the federal government. There's a lot of confusion to what that amount is and how that's accessed. So no, you make a great point. We're going to try to, I'm not sure how, but we're going to try to do our best to make certain that that gets unclouded in process. But thank you for bringing that up because I know it's something that anecdotally, just in conversation, a lot of community talk about, like, where's this money coming from? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not hearing things. So again, we're going to maintain as much activity online as we can to provide those updates. And again, the table will be working very closely to continue that. Thank you for that, Michelle. I did want to also acknowledge that, we've got questions coming in. If you have space in your home, where could you take in a family? Who would you contact? So I bring this question back to Irene and of course back to Lily. Lily, did you want to kind of answer or chime in on that piece?
So I have, what I can do is I can put the link in the Q&A. We have a online form for families who are interested in being a host home to fill out, and then we'll have a staff person contact and follow up with, doing an assessment and letting you know what all the things that we would require under our host home program.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Khan, yes, there's a great question here. What is a good way for local employers to reach out to Ukrainians that are looking for work? Malcolm, I'm going to let you and Lily kind of tag up on this one. Malcolm, if you wanted to climb in on that.
Sorry, David, it cut out a little bit there. Could you just repeat the question?
Certainly. Let me just pull that back up. The question being asked is, what is a good way for local employers to reach out to Ukrainians that are looking for work?
I would suggest that you connect with our office. We'd probably be the good point person. We are expecting to see a lot of job seekers come through us. So I think we can share your job posting out with the local community, make sure it gets out to anybody who is looking for work and share it that way. Our job boards are also public. So even if a job seeker doesn't come into our site, when they access the BIP, the Brantford Immigration Partnership website, they'll see the link to our job boards, and then they'll also be able to see the job posting that way. So best bet, give us a call, 519-756-7665, or jump on the Brantford Immigration Partnership to find our contact information and reach out that way.
Wonderful. Thank you, Malcolm. I've got a question. Lois, thank you for coming back in. You've got a great question here asking, how will adults who need ESL be supported financially, since they may not be able to work until they have a good enough grasp of the language? Where is ESL offered here? I believe we have some of, as part of the larger group here this evening, I'm quite confident we have members from our school boards participating as well. And in the meantime, as they chime in through the chat and we make some of those resources available, Lily, did you want to talk about the Swiss workers perhaps?
Yeah, so for adults who need language classes, in terms of income support, they usually are on one avenue is social assistance. So especially if they're really, really low language levels, then they can, for the Ukrainians, it'll be a bit of a challenge because right now it's limited, so it's temporary. But there still is that option. What we've also find too is that that most ESL will have not just daytime classes, but evening classes as well. So realistically, we can support, help the person find employment as well as having attending classes, because there are certain types of jobs that having a low English level is actually okay. You can still perform. And in terms of who provides it, primarily in Brantford, it is primarily the school board. So the YMCA can make those connections. If someone does have someone who needs an adult who needs English language classes, connect with the YMCA, and we can refer them appropriately. For children and teens, the YMCA has settlement workers that work in the schools with both school boards and helps and will be assisting with school registrations and helping the student and the family make that adjustment to the Canadian school system, which is different than lots of other countries, especially Ukraine. And so we have staff that work directly with the families to help with that adjustment.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Much appreciated, Lily, as always. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Is there anyone else that's interested in asking or calling in a question? We'd be happy to service that question if we can. We'll give it a moment. I believe, Michelle, you may be also typing in some potential information there for the ESL for adults as well.
Yeah, I just connected with Jennifer Eldridge at the Grand Erie Learning Alternatives actually just today, and she confirmed that it is free of charge for adults to do ESL, and she gave her information to connect with her directly to connect for an assessment so that they can start. So I just had that information today.
Wonderful, thank you. And hopefully that's just information you can have us share so that we can locate that within our resources. That's
absolutely
excellent. Thank you, but much appreciated. Any other questions that we can offer to all of you? Again, keeping in mind that the information as it becomes live, we will continually update the site. Any other questions? It seems like it's gotten quiet, and it's okay. It seems like we may have answered a lot of questions. We do realize that there was a great number of questions that were probably answered during the presentations, which was wonderful. Again, I want to thank all of the panelists for their presentations today. But more importantly, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to care, to be here, to offer questions, to offer support, and continued support to this initiative. We will keep on going. We will be adjusting and growing with this process over the summer and beyond. Again, I would just want to say thank you. And if we can be of assistance and support directly, myself and Stephanie can be reached through our email address, which is bip@brantford.ca. Again, it's bip@brantford.ca. So if there's questions, inquiries, or things that we can do, you can give us your name and we'll be happy to call you, email you. And again, if there's things that we can do to connect around Zooming and doing that kind of a virtual meeting, we're more than happy to do that. Whether you're a community participant, community member, an organization, or a stakeholder, we'll be happy to be able to do that. And I would like to say, probably just in closing, I wanted to thank all of you for being here, and we look forward to connecting with you as we go forward. So thank you again. And if I could just ask for the staff of the city just to stay online for a moment, I would like to thank all of you and have a wonderful evening. Take care and have a great weekend.